Last week, we gave you our review of the Ford Territory Titanium. This one is the Titanium X. Now, the real question is it really worth 264,000 pesos more than that one? Let's find out. Hey everyone, Vince here from AutoIndustriya, and what we have here is the new generation Ford Territory. In other markets, it's known as the Equator Sport, the smaller version of the Ford Equator. But in China, this is known as the Ford Ling Rui. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it is what it is. Now, in the Philippines, they launched two versions. The one we reviewed last week was the Titanium, which is the more affordable version. This one is a Titanium X, kind of like the new version of the Titanium Plus, but instead of addition, it's now multiplication. But in terms of price, there is also a multiplication that happened because this is roughly 20% more in terms of price compared to the lower variant, and also 20% in price compared to, let's say, the previous Titanium Plus. But can you feel the upgrade in this one? Well, in the looks department, well, same front end. You do get the nice panoramic glass roof in this one. I know a lot of you guys like your panoramic glass roof here in the Philippines, even though you kind of like to cover it up. But for road trips, it is very nice. It does have these, big side mirrors. Oh, one thing in my review of the previous one, I did not mention the side mirrors. These are actually quite big. And when it comes to driving, I'll show you later, it does have a bit of a blind spot, but very minor. The wheels, these are actually bigger than the one in the Titanium variant. I mean, it's now 19s instead of 18s. So you guys let me know in the comments below if you think 1 inch extra matters. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I really like what Ford and their partner JMC in China did with the design of the Territory, especially the back, because look at it, it's nice and neat. It's got a wider look to it, which makes a difference when it comes to the cargo area. It does have a nice clean rear. I mean, they even resisted the urge to put in the fake tailpipe finishers that they had in the previous generation one, which, by the way, the previous generation one, they're also producing and still offering over in China. Here, not anymore. But you do have the finisher, well, the trim here that kind of gives that look, but not really, so it's kind of nice. But what I really like is the way the tailgate is and the way the taillights light up. I mean, look at how that is. It's pretty cool. You have the repeaters here. You have Territory neatly spelled out there. So overall, it's pretty good. One key upgrade here compared to the Titanium is the power tailgate. You can use the button here, you can use the key, or you can kick and pull away. Pretty good, right? Now, when you do that, you get your very nice cargo area. It's bigger than before, definitely. We've already measured all of this, so check the measurements now. But you can also fold it down. It's not a full fold flat because if you can see through that camera, there is a little bit of a ledge, but if you're putting stuff there, it should be fine. In terms of maximum length, you get about 61 inches from here up to there, 58 inches maximum width. But yeah, it's a pretty spacious cargo area. But one key upgrade here compared to the Titanium is the addition of something that Ford calls the package tray. Not so sure about package tray. I mean, you can, but it'll block your view from the rear view mirror. But still, it's good to keep your packages under here from prying eyes. So yeah, so you get the bigger wheels, you get the panoramic glass roof, you get the power tailgate. What else? Does it make a difference inside and under the hood? Well, let's check both out. Powering the Titanium X is a 1.5-liter turbo gasoline engine, makes 160 horsepower, so it's significantly more than before. The transmission is a 7-speed DCT. Yes, DCT, double clutch or dual clutch transmission, but it's not power shift. This is a wet type DCT, unlike before. However, one thing that I've been looking for in this variant, particularly since it's more expensive, is why not all-wheel drive? This is still front-wheel drive. There's no drive going to the rear wheels to give you that kind of capability. If you, let's say, end up in the provinces on some dirt road where you need to go a little bit faster. But clearly, this is not meant for that. What it does have is a mountain mode, which kind of optimizes the way the traction control works when you're going on, well, not really a trail, but more like a dirt road. So in terms of mechanical changes, nothing. It's really the same in terms of power and torque and everything else. But one change here compared to the previous one, or at least compared to the Territory Titanium we drove earlier, is that it does have a host of smart driver features like the adaptive cruise control. That's why you have that block there, that rectangle under the plate. That is no longer just an abang or a blank space. It is now really a actual radar for your cruise control, other smart features, lane keep, all that. We'll tell you more when we drive it. So the backseat of the Titanium X, the only real changes are primarily aesthetic, actually pretty much aesthetic. The upholstery has changed. It has cream or maybe light gray, then darker gray with blue stitching on here. Same with here, the trim seems to be the same. Power windows, the big pocket here. Door handles, very nice. 2 AC vents there, 1 USB port, center armrest with 2 cup holders. The headrest right there. You also have the flat floor on this one. So remember what I said that this one does not have all-wheel drive? Well, that's why. There's no tunnel there going to the back, so it's pretty much flat, pretty much front-wheel drive only. But the really nice thing here, it's got a panoramic glass roof. So if you want to get a view of, what's outside, you can do so. So the interior of the Territory Titanium X, well, you can see the difference, particularly with the colorway, because again, they went for the cream leather right there, same with the seats, but this one does not have the blue stitching. This would look good with the blue stitching like they use in the seat, but again, it does look very good. And one thing I did remark in the previous Territory video is that the quality of the fit, the everything, seems to be a notch higher compared to before. You can feel it when you touch the AC vents, when you touch anything, it just feels better. This one does not have as many scratches on the panel here, but still, there are some there. It's kind of a magnet for these kinds of scratches. Now, if we look at the steering wheel, it's got a D cut right there, very nice to hold. The buttons, you have your smart driving features here, the adaptive cruise control, all that stuff. Audio controls here, same as the other one. And look, this still has the plastic right here. Now, I don't know about you, but I tend to remove all of these as soon as I get a car. If you're the type that keeps the plastic on the car, let us know in the comments below. But you look at the dashboard, you've got this nice panel here. It's not fully seamless. You can see the border of the screens, but there are 2 screens here. This one, I think, is 12 inches. It's actually bigger than the one in the Titanium. I'll double check that, but it seems bigger. Yeah, 12 inches, and then you have the screen here for all your audio and multimedia and stuff. But back to this one. So what do you got? The TPMS, the tire information, and then you can scroll through the different, you gotta switch, you gotta press this button to be able to choose which one you want to control with this. So for example, and same with this. So for example, if now in settings control mode, I can flip through the different statuses of the vehicle. So you have settings, you have the media, you have phone, you have the driver assist, there we go. So this is where it gets interesting, because this vehicle comes with things like the lane keep. So you can see there, if I press the lane keep button here, the lane, it will look for lane markings when you're on the expressway. It also has adaptive cruise control. I'm not sure if it'll activate right now. It does. It will activate. Of course, you can't use it. We're stationary right now. But you can set the speed depending on what you want. You can't do it right now, but we tried it on the expressway. It really does work. And you can set the distance to the vehicle ahead. One interesting thing here, though, is that when I was driving it yesterday and I used the adaptive cruise control function, it was actually showing a little icon here, the distance to the vehicle ahead. I think it's in meters. So it's actually nice to have that queuing. We've never seen that in any other models with adaptive cruise control like here in the Philippines. But yeah, so you have your primary display here. You have your speedometer on the left, tachometer on the right. Very, very simple. You even have the digital backup. So if you don't want to look at where the needle is, or the digital needle, you can just look at the numbers. All well and good. Back to this screen. If you notice, it has a few icons, but first you want to swipe just like your phone. It's actually very nice. adjust your brightness there, just like your phone. You have your buttons, like things you want to access pretty quickly. So for example, you want to change drive modes, you can have Eco, the Sport. It's a bit more aggressive with the shifting. You have the mountain modes, and also when you play around with the settings here, your screen actually changes. So typical of other cars, when you adjust this changes depending on the display. But back onto here. So mountain mode, Eco, all that stuff. It also changes right there. But this is the hill descent control, HDC, when you see that. So if you're going down a very, very steep incline, you probably won't be going off-roading in a territory anyway, but still, I guess it'll be helpful if ever you have to. Your climate control is under here, but when you press the button, it actually comes up on the screen here. So you can see there my temperature settings. I normally keep it at 23 for when I'm driving around, so kind of sets my standard for fuel economy. But you have your different controls for the climate control system. So it's dual zone, so passenger can have their own. It also has a PM filter, meaning a particulate matter filter. So it's like a nicer cabin filter. That's one upgrade compared to the titanium version of the Territory. But the feature I really like is when you turn up the ventilation for these perforated leather seats. Very nice, especially on a hot day. And let's say if you parked under the sun and then you forgot to close the cover for the sunroof, that will really come in handy. Now, for your phone, you can hook up in many different ways. You can hook up via a wire, or you can hook up via the wireless Apple CarPlay or the wireless Android Auto. Right now I have it on Android Auto, so see there, all well and good, and it has the multiple I guess divisions for the screen, if you want to call it that, but it makes it very easy. I like that feature very much. You can also plug in, right now it's on the wireless charger, but sometimes I prefer to plug in like that and just leave it there. I could. One thing I did notice that with the Territory, the titanium, this gets pretty warm if you put it here because there is no ventilation going there to cool it down while you're charging. So that's something I keep in mind because, yeah, I mean, right now I can feel it. It's pretty warm after sitting in here for like, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. So keep that in mind. Very minor thing. But there's also a USB-C port under there, not the data port. The USB-C port is for charging only. Pretty useful. What else do you have? Your transmission control is right here. You have PRND, right? This is for the 7-speed dual clutch of this one. Low range is right there. One thing I did find though is that being a dual clutch, it's kind of nice to have a manual mode for a dual clutch, but this one does not. I mean, there's no paddles, there's no plus minus there, so kind of strange, but still. You have cup holders here, and you can fold this down. So if you want to put your phone here, you can. Again, have it your way. Depends on what you want to do. You can kind of configure that as you see fit. Electronic parking brake is right here. You have your auto start stop. So if you want the engine to turn off while you're stuck in traffic, or let's say at a stoplight momentarily, you can activate it there. You have the auto start stop off. Sorry, this is the auto start stop off. This is the auto brake hold. Sorry about that. So then you have your parking sensors off. This one, I tend to keep it off if I'm going through tight city streets. You also have the auto park feature here, that we ever use that, but if you want to, by all means, go ahead. The home button for the audio system, so press that there. You can switch between the different modes there. The volume control right here. Has a tray right here that slides back and forth and opens up to a very spacious cargo, not really cargo area, but wallet stuff. You know, if you have a two-way radio, it can go in there, no problem. The armrest here is fixed. Well, it's not fixed, it goes up, but you can't adjust it depending on what you want. You also have a big compartment underneath, again, with the 12-volt USB-C, USB port. So really, that's about it. I'm sure I'm still missing a lot more because they did add a few features to this car, but hey, I think we covered most of the basics. So now let's go out and try it. The good thing about driving one variant and another variant back to back in the same model range is that you get to compare how things have gotten better as you move up the model range, or how they've become, cheaper. In the case of this one, it's kind of par for the course, because it's hard to tell whether it's actually better in terms of quality and all that, the ride comfort. It's all pretty much the same. I think Ford and JMC did a pretty good job with the vehicle itself in terms of quality, because right now we're going over EDSA bumps. Normally in a few Chinese cars, you'd kind of hear a bit squeaking. This one, no. It just absorbs it very, very nicely. And that's a good thing. That's what we wanted to see out of these Chinese cars, that they get better in terms of the fundamentals. I mean, driving here now, no squeaking, no rattling, no nothing. That's what you want. If we're talking about ride comfort, the ride of this is very good. I mean, considering I'm still alone in the car, if I'm driving this to and from the office every day, it's actually really nice. The ride is pretty comfortable. There is a bit of a bounce with the rear, especially if you go over a hump pretty fast. It kind of tends to bounce up like that and then settles. It's strange. Even I struggle to describe it, but it's still okay. It's not uncomfortable. It's just a different sensation. But on EDSA right now, it's actually good, because EDSA, as we know, can be bumpy. Even on the truck lane on C5, it can be bumpy. But this one soaks it up very well. The noise suppression is actually something that's really good about this vehicle, because motorcycles pass you by, even if they're going, flat out, they're kind of nicely muted, which is what you want. With loud trucks, and nothing you can really do about those, but even then, it's nicely controlled overall. As you know, Ford is allergic to the term DCT, or dual clutch transmission, and that's why they put automatic on the spec sheet, even though we know it's a dual clutch. But considering how it's behaved so far over the two variants, this is one of the better DCTs we've tried, because the way it behaves in the city, especially in super slow stop-go traffic or bumper-to-bumper traffic like you would normally get, it's actually managing it very well. It's pretty smooth. You do feel a bit of vibration, very, very slight, from the pedal when you can feel the clutch trying to engage as you drive off. But even then, considering where power shift was before, this is like a night and day difference. Before it was let go and then kind of wasn't sure. It's like a new driver learning manual clutch. That's how it felt like before with the older power shift. This one, it's actually way more controlled. The engine is of course more powerful than before by about 10%, but it's not a huge difference, but you do feel it. If we did have an open road right now, we'd be able to explore that, but not really. But still, you feel the improvement in terms of the power, in terms of the top end. It's still not as quick or as great as the one on the Geely Coolray. But then again, this is a bigger vehicle as well. But in terms of how it behaves, the extra power is appreciated. The extra torque is definitely appreciated. And the effect on efficiency, the combination of the 7-speed DCT and the 1.5-liter turbo engine with better torque is actually quite good. Even driving it around the city, this one I was actually getting slightly better fuel economy numbers. 10.1 on my average daily drive of around 21 kilometers per hour. Average speed, to and from home. When traffic goes down, it's around 9.2. So that's actually pretty good considering the size of this. Granted, I'm only alone in the car, so take those numbers for what you will. When I was on the expressway, I was easily doing 15 and a half. I can probably do more, but it's kind of fun to put your foot down once in a while. Couple criticisms. One thing I noticed when I would approach some 90-degree corners at, let's say, in a village or in a barangay, that kind of thing, the side mirrors are actually quite big. And there are times when it would block if I'm making a left turn into a 90-degree corner. It kind of blocks the approach or what's coming up from that road. So keep that in mind. You can sit a bit, set your seat a bit higher, but the way I like to sit in any car, crossover, whatever, I like to sit as low as possible. So yeah, this kind of blocks my field of view. Same with the other side. It's very, very minor, but that's what the parking sensors or the distance sensors are for. But in my case, right now, I don't know if you can see it, I have it always turned off because unless I'm actually parking, I don't use it. So, motorcycles go in and out and kind of activates it, goes crazy. So, not a big fan of that. I do like the adaptive cruise control in this one. It's actually a good one. It maintains distance very, very well. It even shows you the actual distance in meters, I think, to the car ahead, which is good. The thing I don't like, though, is the lane keep assist of this one. Because in cars like, let's say, like a Honda Sensing equipped car or an EyeSight equipped car, you can feel that when you activate the lane keep system, it actively maintains you in the lane, like, before you even get over the line. This one, no, it's more like an intervention. So when you're driving it, and then when you're driving it with the expectation it will steer to follow the road, let's say on Skyway 3, it actually won't until the front right or front left goes over the line already. So it'll jerk you in that direction, but not really jerk, but it will tug in that direction. Not as good as the one in the EyeSight, most definitely, and definitely not as good as the one in Honda Safety Sense. So not a big fan of that. Where I think a vehicle like the Territory will excel is when it comes to a target demographic, a customer that's looking for a practical, everyday crossover SUV that is, for one, bigger than what the price usually offers you. Because that's really the advantage of going China with anything. Because you get more than what you're normally paying for if the product was made elsewhere. Unfortunately, China is the world's market, and with cars, that is what's happening now. I mean, even with, let's say, Japanese cars or Thai-made cars or wherever else made cars, chances are a lot of the parts are already made in China. So that's how they bring the cost down, because China's economy of scales are ridiculously huge. When you go to one of their car companies and then they like to show you, factory after factory. When you visit a car factory in China, they show like this is like factory, 6 of 10 in one big facility. We're like, wow. So you get a sense of that's the kind of economies of scale they're playing with, and it's going to be difficult for the Japanese car makers to keep up with that kind of aggressive nature of the Chinese automakers. I mean, if the Japanese are normally conservative when it comes to offering features, like they, see, there's that park distance warning. How did that activate? There was no car in front of me. Maybe it sensed a motorcycle there. But yeah, when it comes to like the features and what they offer, Japanese car companies tend to be far more conservative. And then you have the Korean automakers, which are maybe, double the aggressive nature of Japanese when it comes to offering customers new designs, new features, so on and so forth. But with the Chinese, it's like even double that of the Japanese of the Koreans when it comes to what they can offer you for similar kind of money. That is really their advantage. Sorry, not even similar money, less money. So, like for the price of a compact sedan from a Japanese automaker, you're getting a bigger SUV like this. It's kind of hard to compete with, and we like that they're present. Like these brands, these vehicles are present in our market because it pushes competition. It pushes the Japanese automakers to offer more, be more, do more. And at the end of the day, it's the consumers that win. But when it comes to the variance in terms of the pricing, is the Territory Titanium X actually worth it? Well, back to the warehouse. Let's talk about that. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not really detecting a difference when it comes to the drive of the vehicle. They're both exactly the same. The Titanium X, it's gonna feel the same when you get behind the wheel. The real difference is that this one is peppered with a lot of nicer ingredients to make it nicer or more premium to drive. I mean, it is nice to be able to drive with a panoramic sunroof, but honestly, I can live without a lot of the things they put into this one. I would have wished they put in things like, let's say, maybe an all-wheel drive option to justify the price jump. Maybe a few other features that aren't, so let's say, obvious or at least more functional in terms of the way the vehicle actually works with you every day. But hey, it's still a good car. I think Ford, and yes, JMC, did the fundamentals of the vehicle right because it feels comfortable. The AC, of course, is cool, the dual AC. The features all work. The quality seems to be good. And also, yeah, you do feel nice and you feel a bit taller when you drive one of these around. But still, the big price jump, it's kind of hard to justify without any significant mechanical changes. I actually don't think Ford is intentionally wanting to charge more. They could be. Who knows? Maybe they want to create a bigger segmentation between the Titanium and the Titanium X. But I have a feeling, and this is just my guess, is that this version, when they import it from China, the price of it, when you landed like the CIF or FOB, I'm not sure which one they're using, it landed it in a higher price bracket for excise tax, which is why the jump in price is huge. But hey, that's just my guess. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Territory Titanium X. This is Vince of AutoIndustriya.com.